So it surprises me a lot when it doesn't matter how many times I tell my students to use the metronome, it's always a task for them to do so. And not just my students, but for a lot of people. I jam out with my bandmates, and the metronome is always something that it gets hidden away or tucked away, or it just never gets used. And it's no one's fault, really. I mean, who likes using the metronome? The metronome is kind of like an annoying clicking sound. It's a little too fast, and always in between four beats, there's like a louder bell beat. So what's up with all that? Now, last time I talked to one of my students, I asked her if, she's playing a song list, and I asked her, I could tell that she was not using the metronome. And I did ask her, did you use the metronome? And she just not, she said no. And I asked her, well, I mean, it kind of brought me to this moment of explaining to her why we need to use the metronome. And why do we need to use the metronome? I'm sure there's a lot of science behind it, but this is my explanation, and I do believe this is somewhat around the case. Like, this has to be in a way correct. We have a spinal cord, and in our spinal cord we have the nervous system, and the metronome is a machine. It's got a consistent click of measurements of time. That's kind of what it is, right? We have lapses of a rotating sound that rotates time. It's a signal for sound and time. Now, the metronome machine, is a perfect, consistent click. It's not fast, it doesn't go from fast to slow or vice versa. And we human beings are not perfect. We're not robots or anything like that. So whenever we are playing instruments and we don't use the metronome, we do not train our nervous system to fine-tune a consistent course of action, like, playing the instrument. So for me, that's my explanation. We gotta use the metronome so that we can train our nervous system to interact with a pattern that's consistent. Now, that does not mean that we're gonna perfect our nervous system and our movements, but training our movements in terms of consistent timing, it is training our nervous system. And our nervous system, based on the algorithms that we all talk about in YouTube, algorithms and YouTube in the internet, algorithms in the internet, and algorithms is something that gets to be talked about nowadays in terms of computing and the internet and social media platforms. YouTube algorithms, we all know what algorithms are, and algorithms is nothing more than an input and output of information, I think. So when we train with the metronome on, think of it like our brain is inputting an algorithmic data of patterns of movements, and all those movements gets tapped into our brain and into our nervous system, right down to the tips of our fingers. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, the way we can think about that means that, oh yeah, then it makes sense to use the metronome, not just to keep timing, because when I do ask people, like, what do we use the metronome on for, people say, like, a simplistic reason is like, oh, just to keep time. Well, there's more to it. We have to train our nervous system, and our nervous system gets an input of timing and specific patterns of lapses of time. I don't know if I'm saying all that correctly, but I believe that's the case. And you want to use the metronome when you're practicing your instrument so that you can train your nervous system to play the instrument in a consistent amount of time lapses. So what do you do when you are beginning to use the metronome? There are several things you can do, and let's bring it back all the way to the ground. Let's say that you have this is a piano channel, so let's say that you're playing the piano and you are starting to learn how to use the metronome. How do you go about that? First, you need to know and be aware of just time. So whenever you're doing a movement, you want to start kind of like thinking about counting. Let's say that you're putting your finger in a 5-finger position and you're going from A all the way to E on your 5 fingers. Thumb being on A, second finger on B, third finger on C, fourth finger on D, and fifth finger on E. And let's say that you're just going up and down. Da, 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 da. So when you make those movements, you at least want to begin by just counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And strangely enough, our speeching pattern has a better sense of time. And why is that? Oh, it's because we talk more than we play an instrument, right? So our speeching patterns have a more direct coordination of time in terms of consistent rhythmic values of rhythmic flow. So let's say that you don't have a metronome or anything like that. You want to start just counting verbally, maybe out loud or maybe silently to yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're gonna, and just for right now, you're just gonna count up to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let me see if my piano is available to be played. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So you want to start counting with your mouth, with your verbalization of these countings. That's gonna help you out to start aligning some sort of I don't know what I could say, some sort of anchor lapses of time. Dun, 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 dun. That's when you have no metronome. Once you have a metronome on, well, what do you use? Many times the keyboard that you might be using has a metronome built in it. So not every keyboard is built the same, but every metronome is defaulted in the same setting. All metronomes are going to be defaulted to 120 beats per minute, BPM, to 4 beats. So that means that when you hear this, that's 120 beats per minute, 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you want to set your metronome to 100 beats per minute, 1/4. That way, you just have one singular beat. But I'm getting too ahead of myself. What do you do when you have a piano and like an acoustic piano, upright piano, grand piano, and you don't have a metronome? Well, I mean, okay, so let's organize this thought here real quick. When you have a keyboard, the first thing you gotta know is how to modify the keyboard's metronome. You want to learn how to set it so that you can start putting it fast or slow, different key signatures. So those are two things you just have to be aware about. You have to know how to modify. If you're using a keyboard's metronome, you have to know how to modify two things: the tempo, meaning how fast and how slow the tempo goes. Tempo is time, like how fast it goes. So you always want to set it to 100 beats per minute, not 120. 120 is the default, but I do think it's a little too fast for many players that are not initiated with the metronome. The second thing you want to modify would be the time signature. The reason why you hear that ring every 4 beats is because that is the key signature of 4/4. Now, these are kind of basics, but it's kind of complicated for many people. You want to put it at 1/4. That way, you can hear one singular beat. I'll show you what that sounds like in a second. But another thing too is that when you are using an acoustic piano and you don't have a metronome built in it, and you don't know how to begin a metronome, if you have a tablet, if you have a computer around, or even on your phone, you can go to Google Chrome or Google.com, Google page, and just type in metronome. and immediately you're going to see 100 beats per minute, and there's no bell, no key signature in it. So that right there is going to be pretty easy to use. Go to Google metronome, and immediately you're going to be faced with 100 beats per minute, no bell, which is what we're looking for. Now, my recommendation, the best thing you can do is get an app. Okay? Now, there's many apps of metronomes out there. And by the way, notice that I haven't mentioned getting a metronome itself. I do believe that metronomes are kind of expensive. They're around $20, I think, for a basic one, and they go around $60 to more dollars, depending what kind of metronome you get. But the best thing you can do is go to the App Store and search on the you're gonna search tempo, and then you're gonna look for the app that's got the 3 little yellow dots that says tempo metronome. It's actually free. This one's free. And in that metronome app, you're going to see 3 things that you're gonna be utilizing as you go through this metronome little journey. You're gonna be looking at the bottom left for the key signature. Right in the middle of the screen, you're going to see the tempo, which is like what we discussed. It is already set on 120. And on the right bottom corner, you're going to see a subdivision option where you can hear out the other subdivision beats within the key signature that you're playing in. You have the 8th notes, triple 8th notes, and even 16 notes. These are very useful, so when you're playing fast, complicated melodies, you can use these settings and options on the metronome app. Now, just like I said earlier, you want to put your metronome to 100 beats per minute, 1/4. That way, you hear one singular beat, and it would probably sound something like this. Now, that's a very good way to start it off with. You're gonna put your metronome to 100 beats per minute, 1/4, and that's it. Now, if you want to play a faster melody or slower melody, you're gonna swipe on the app left or right, and it's pretty easy to use. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. Use the metronome. The metronome is gonna be the best thing you can utilize for your practice in music and instrumentation. Put the metronome to 100 beats per minute, 2/4, and get it from the App Store. If you don't have means to get in an app, try to utilize the keyboard metronome built in and modify it to the same setting, 100 beats per minute, 1/4. And if you don't have a keyboard and you have a grand piano and you don't have a metronome yet, verbalize your counting, because your mouth and your speeching patterns have a better flow, rhythmic patterns of rhythmic flow. Better rhythmic flow. I mean, that'll be all for this video. Utilize the metronome always, because remember, you're going to train your nervous system, and your nervous system is like a computer, software that's got so many data that is getting input and outputted. The input will be the metronome, and the output will be your playing. So let's make that playing better by using the metronome. That'll be all for this video. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you for watching. Oh, and by the way, subscribe, like, share, YouTube guy. So I'll see you on the next video from there on.